Episode 9. Never neglect your daily connection with the divine. Aum Namabhagavath Vasudevya. Imagine this. A successful businessman owns factories across the country. His calendar is full. His phone never stops ringing. Meetings begin before sunrise. Flights, deadlines, negotiations, decisions worth millions. Everyone admires his success. One morning, a young employee asks him a simple question. "Sir, with everything you have achieved, what is the first thing you do every day?" The employee expects to hear, "I check the markets. I read business reports. I answer important emails." Instead, the businessman smiles. "The first conversation I have every morning is not with the world. It is with God." The young employee is surprised. The businessman continues, "If I lose money, I can earn it again. If I lose an opportunity, another may come. But if I lose my connection with the one who gives me wisdom, everything else slowly begins to lose its meaning." If you want to build not only a successful life, but also a peaceful heart, a clear mind, and an unshakable character, stay with me until the very end. Because today's principle has quietly guided saints, great leaders, wise kings, and ordinary people through humanity's greatest challenges. Every morning, before the world speaks to you, your soul deserves a moment to speak with the divine. Imagine owning the most advanced smartphone ever created. Powerful processor, extraordinary camera, unlimited applications. But every night, you forget to charge it. How long before it stops functioning? The problem isn't the phone. The problem is the missing connection. Human beings are remarkably similar. We nourish the body. We educate the mind. We build careers. We strengthen finances. Yet many neglect the nourishment of the soul. Then we wonder, why does life feel empty despite achievement? The Bhagavad Gita teaches that the Supreme dwells within every living being. Prayer is not informing God about our problems. Prayer is reminding ourselves where true strength comes from. It is a daily alignment, a daily reset, a daily return to what truly matters. Swami Vivekananda once said, "The greatest religion is to be true to your own nature." That truth becomes much easier to hear when the noise of the world becomes quiet. Prayer creates that silence. Imagine a ship sailing across a vast ocean. Every day, the captain checks the compass, not because yesterday's direction was wrong, but because today's journey requires fresh alignment. Prayer is the compass of life. Without it, success can become arrogance. Failure can become despair. Wealth can become attachment. Knowledge can become pride. Prayer gently brings us back to balance. Let me tell you a story. An elderly school teacher lived a very ordinary life. His income was modest. His home was simple. Yet everyone who met him noticed something extraordinary. He carried remarkable peace. One day, a former student asked him, "Sir, how have you remained so calm through every difficulty?" The teacher smiled. "For 50 years, before speaking to the world, I first spoke to God. The world changes every day. He never does." That answer remained with the student forever. Peace is often less about changing circumstances and more about strengthening our foundation. If today's message already reminds you of the importance of beginning each day with gratitude, pause for a moment and write one word in the comments. Gratitude. Because gratitude is often the first prayer of a peaceful heart. Now here's something fascinating. Modern research increasingly suggests that regular spiritual practices such as prayer, gratitude, and meditation are associated with reduced stress, improved emotional well-being, and greater resilience in many people. Perhaps science is gradually discovering what sages understood thousands of years ago. The mind becomes stronger when it regularly returns to stillness. Peter Drucker once said, "Follow effective action with quiet reflection. Reflection allows thoughtful action to emerge." Prayer is the deepest form of reflection. It reminds us that we are not merely human beings chasing success. We are spiritual beings entrusted with responsibility. Imagine a musician preparing for a grand concert. Before performing, the instrument must be tuned. No audience sees that process. Yet the quality of the performance depends upon it. Prayer tunes the human heart. The world sees our actions. Only we know whether our hearts remain aligned. Chanakya advised rulers never to allow power to make them forget humility. Prayer protects humility. Because before the divine, every title disappears. Every position becomes temporary. Every achievement becomes an opportunity for gratitude rather than pride. There is another lesson every great leader understands. The busiest people often need silence the most, because important decisions require clear minds, and clear minds require inner stillness. But here's where everything changes. Imagine standing beside a river at sunrise. The world is still waking up. The air is calm. The water reflects the first rays of light. For a few beautiful moments, there is no hurry, no deadlines, no notifications, only silence. Nature has always understood something that human beings often forget. Before movement, there must be stillness. Before action, there must be awareness. Before speaking, there must be listening. Prayer gives us that sacred pause. Not because God needs our words, but because our hearts need His presence. The Bhagavad Gita teaches that a person whose mind is connected to the divine remains steady in success and failure alike. Think about that. The world constantly changes. Markets rise and fall. Jobs begin and end. People enter our lives and leave. Health changes. Circumstances change. But when your heart is anchored in something eternal, temporary storms lose the power to shake your foundation. That is the true gift of daily prayer. It is not an escape from reality. It is preparation for reality. If today's message reminds you to begin every day by strengthening your inner foundation, write one word in the comments. Faith. Because faith is not believing that life will never be difficult. Faith is believing that you will never walk through difficulty alone. There is another misunderstanding about prayer. Many people think prayer is asking. Wise people discover that prayer is also listening. Imagine speaking continuously to a trusted mentor, never allowing them to respond. Would that be a meaningful conversation? Of course not. Prayer is a relationship. Sometimes we speak. Sometimes we remain silent. Sometimes the greatest answers arrive. Not through words, but through clarity, through peace, through unexpected wisdom, through courage we didn't know we possessed. St. Augustine once said, "You have made us for yourself, and our hearts are restless until they rest in you." How many people spend their lives searching for peace? In money, recognition, power, possessions, only to discover that peace was never something to purchase. It was something to cultivate. Within, there is another lesson from leadership. The strongest leaders rarely begin the day by reacting. They begin by reflecting. Some pray. Some meditate. Some read scripture. Some sit quietly in gratitude. Whatever the practice, they understand that the quality of the morning often shapes the quality of the day. Imagine two executives. One wakes up and immediately opens social media. News. Arguments. Emails. Pressure. Within minutes, The world controls his mind. The second executive wakes up, offers gratitude, reads a few verses from sacred scripture, sits quietly for a few moments, then begins the day. Both enter the same office, face the same challenges, yet one carries chaos, the other carries clarity. The difference was not the workload. It was the morning. Chanakya advised kings that discipline before sunrise creates strength throughout the day. Morning discipline has always been the silent companion of extraordinary lives. Prayer is one of the highest forms of discipline, because it reminds us that our first priority is not productivity. It is alignment. There is another beautiful lesson from nature. Have you noticed how flowers naturally turn toward the sun? They don't struggle. They simply orient themselves toward the source of light. Human beings flourish in the same way. When our hearts remain turned toward truth, compassion, humility, and the divine, our lives gradually begin reflecting that light. Not perfectly, but consistently. One prayer each morning. One prayer each evening. One moment of gratitude before every meal. One sincere conversation with God before making a difficult decision. These simple practices quietly shape extraordinary lives. Not overnight, but over years. Before you begin tomorrow, ask yourself one simple question. What will be the very first voice I hear each morning? The world's or the divine's? That one question, repeated every sunrise, can transform the direction of your life. If today's episode reminded you that your relationship with the divine deserves daily attention, subscribe and continue this journey with us. Every episode is designed to help us grow in wisdom, character, and spiritual strength. Share this episode with someone who may have become so busy building a living that they have forgotten to nourish their soul. One gentle reminder can change a lifetime. Together, let us become better individuals, build stronger families, create a better society, and leave behind a better world for future generations. Remember, never become too busy to pray. Never become too successful to be grateful. Never become too knowledgeable to remain humble. Never become so occupied with life that you forget the one who gave you life. Instead, begin every morning with gratitude. Walk every day with faith. Serve every person with humility. End every evening with reflection. Because the strongest connection you will ever build is not with technology, not with wealth, not with status. It is with the divine. And when that connection remains strong, everything else gradually finds its rightful place. May we replace anxiety with faith. Replace pride with humility. Replace distraction with devotion. Replace restlessness with inner peace. May every sunrise remind us to reconnect with the divine. Every decision reflect wisdom. Every action become an offering. And every day bring us one step closer to fulfilling our dharma with love, courage, and gratitude. Aum Namah Bhagavath Vasudevaya.